Today's piano technique and musicality masterclass will be covering Fur Elise by Beethoven. If you are learning this piece, you will find many great ideas for different piano exercises you can use in order to improve this piece, different piano techniques that will help to improve the sound of Fur Elise, and some great ideas about how to interpret this lovely piece by Beethoven. Let's get started. This beginning section is both a little bit easier to play, and you've probably heard it many times even from beginners playing, although this is an intermediate piece, rated sometimes from level 5 to level 7, depending on which book you're looking at. So we're starting at a pianissimo, and there's a couple different fingers you can use in your right hand. I like to use 5-4, but you can also use 4-3. And that can give you just a little bit more control. I'm just used to the 5-4 as well. And some people may even use the 3-2 here. I don't personally like that fingering very much, but if you have trouble controlling your 4th and 5th finger, this might be a great choice for you. So first, we're starting with the pianissimo, but then if you just keep it at that pianissimo, it's not going to be very interesting because it's not going to sound like it phrase. It's going to sound too plain. So we need to make a little bit of a crescendo diminuendo to give this some interest and some life, to give this music a bit of direction. So something like that. And since this melody repeats so many times in this first section, and we have a first and second ending, and then we have another first and second ending that has this very similar theme, you don't want to play it exactly the same way every time, because again, that gets a little bit boring to hear it exactly the same way. So maybe go from pianissimo to a little bit more the second time, or let's say on the second ending you can do a little bit more than on the first ending. And this is to help keep the interest, help keep the audience interested in what you're playing as well, and give the music some life. Let's keep on going to measure 24, and I can give you some tips on music interpretation here, and of course on the way to get this right with your piano technique, because this part gets kind of fast. So let's start with that part right there. I like to give it, to do a little bit of a staccato here. The fingering I'm using in my right hand is 1-5, 1-5, 1-2-5. And then I'm going 1-3-5. My book here says 1-2-4, switch to 1. And I'm taking just this very slight breath right before those grace notes. And it helps me to come into this new section and point out that this is a new section. So I want you to listen to a couple things as I'm doing that. The right hand keeps that melody the whole time. It keeps the momentum and forward motion. And in order to really create a phrase, we need to add some dynamics to it. It cannot be flat. They cannot be extreme dynamics. Well, sometimes they can. It depends on the phrase and what you're trying to do. But like in this case, we have piano cantando, piano soft, cantando in a singing-like fashion. We want to sing this phrase, not exaggerate it, just make it sound like a phrase. So what we can do is create a slight crescendo towards the middle of the phrase, towards the climax of the phrase, and then diminuendo towards the end of the phrase, especially the last two notes, the last note and sometimes 2 or 3 notes of the phrase need to pull back a little bit to make it sound more like a phrase. Listen again. So you hear how those last notes pull back and it makes it feel like the phrase ended. Now, I did not stop on measure 26. I didn't make that into 2 different phrases. I don't like the sound of that, but you can try it out and see how you like it. It feels like I'm breathing too much if I do that, and the phrase should keep going to end all the way right there. And so that's what I'm doing in my right hand. My left hand in this whole section is going to do some finger pedaling in order to help me not have to do more pedaling in with my foot here. So I'm just going to keep that pinky down. And if you need to practice that slowly, definitely feel free to do that. And that gives us that bass note that keeps on holding. And notice how my bass note, that F, is slightly louder than these middle parts in the left hand. Again, creating some layers in the music and creating some interest. One last thing right here is I'm going to point out that top note in the right hand. And create a very slight crescendo to that. Thank you so much for watching my piano technique and musicality masterclass on Fur Elise by Beethoven. If you did enjoy this and you would like to see the full masterclass, you can follow the link to my website and get it there for a small price. So definitely check that out and see if you would like to really take Fur Elise up to the next level and be able to play it with passion, be able to play it so well and interpret it well. In that masterclass, I do give a lot more ideas than even in this video so that you can really take Fur Elise up to the next level. Thanks again, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.